Late at night, a high school locker room, and just empty, it's alive. Ryan's teammates vanish into shadows, whispers call his name, and the walls twist into endless darkness. Nothing is as it seems, and escaping may be impossible. Enter if you dare, the locker room never forgets. The rain hammered down on the roof of Ridgefield High as the boys' basketball team wrapped up late-night practice. The gym echoed with bouncing balls, squeaky shoes, and exhausted laughter. Coach Daniels finally blew his whistle, his voice booming. "All right, that's it for tonight. Hit the showers, and don't forget we've got playoffs coming. Be sharp." The players groaned, dragging themselves toward the locker room. The air inside was humid, filled with the stench of sweat, rubber, and damp socks. Rows of dented metal lockers lined the walls, their paint chipped, names of old players carved into the steel. A few bulbs overhead flickered, buzzing like dying insects. Jake, the team captain, slapped his friend Marcus on the back. "Man, I can't feel my legs. You better carry me home." Marcus laughed. "You'd weigh me down. Besides, you're the captain, you walk." The locker room should have felt familiar, but something was different tonight. The air was heavy, suffocating. The showers hissed in the distance, though no one had turned them on. A strange draft snaked across the room, carrying the faint smell of rusted iron. Or was it blood? Ethan, the youngest on the team, frowned as he pulled off his sneakers. "Hey, do you guys hear that?" Everyone stopped. A low thud 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 came from the far corner, where the oldest lockers sat and used for years. They were locked shut, coated in dust and rust. No one ever touched them. "Probably pipes," Marcus muttered, though his voice cracked slightly. But then, the thudding grew louder, faster, as if something inside those lockers wanted out. Jake forced a laugh. "Yeah, real funny." "Who's messing around?" He turned to the others. Everyone looked genuinely confused. Before anyone could answer, one of the rusty lockers slammed open on its own. The metal screeched as the door bent backward, but inside there was nothing, just darkness. Ethan's face went pale. "Screw this. I'm getting Coach." He hurried to the door leading back to the gym and yanked it. It didn't move. He tried again, locked tight. "What the hell?" Jake muttered. He rushed to help, but the door wouldn't budge. It was as if someone had bolted it from the outside. Panic rose quickly. The rest of the team abandoned their jokes, crowding around the door, pulling and kicking. Nothing. They were sealed in. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice, and in that brief stutter of darkness, someone screamed. It was Tyler, the class clown, always the loudest. When the lights returned, his locker door was wide open, and Tyler was gone. His clothes, his shoes, even his bag still lay on the bench. But he had vanished. No, this is a prank," Marcus said, his voice shaking. "It has to be," but Jake shook his head. His hands were trembling. "No prank makes someone disappear like that." Silence hung heavy. Only the dripping of the showers filled the air. Then bang! Another locker door slammed shut on its own, echoing like a gunshot. The team spun around, hearts pounding, but no one moved. "Stay together," Jake ordered. "Nobody splits up. Whatever's going on, we face it as a team." But fear had already sunk its claws in. Ethan was shaking so badly his knees nearly gave out. "Something's in here with us," he whispered. "It's picking us off." Marcus tried to sound brave. "Then we fight it. Whatever it is." The words barely left his mouth when the lights died completely. Total blackness swallowed the locker room. The boys shouted, stumbling, bumping into benches and lockers. In the pitch dark, something moved fast, the sound of scraping metal, the rattle of locker doors, and beneath it, a guttural growl that didn't belong to anything human. "Flashlights! Phones!" Jake yelled, fumbling for his bag. The glow of a few screens lit up the room, just enough to reveal bloody handprints smeared across the lockers. Fresh, wet, Ethan gagged, nearly dropping his phone. "That wasn't there a second ago." Marcus lifted his phone higher, the light catching something moving at the far end. A shadow, taller than any of them, twisted, bent in ways a body shouldn't bend. It was crawling across the ceiling, long fingers dragging across the tiles. "Run!" someone screamed. The team scattered, crashing into benches, desperately trying to find another way out. Jake sprinted toward the showers, shoving open the tiled door. The steam inside was choking, though no water ran. The mirrors were fogged over. Words appeared across the glass in dripping letters. "You're next." His chest tightened. Behind him, another scream tore through the locker room. He spun back just in time to see Marcus Vanish pulled backward into a locker that slammed shut with bone-crunching force. The phones flickered and died, one by one, until only Jake's screen glowed weakly. He stumbled back, eyes darting, heart slamming in his chest. "Where are you?" He shouted into the darkness. Silence. Then, from directly behind him, a voice whispered his name. "Yak." He turned slowly, his phone's light shook as he raised it. The beam landed on the row of old, unused lockers. All their doors were hanging open now like gaping mouths. One by one, they began to slam shut, closer and closer, until only the locker in front of him stood wide open. The inside was pitch black, but the whisper came again, deeper this time. "Come in." Jake froze, his body trembling, every instinct telling him to run, but his legs refused to move. The darkness inside that locker seemed alive, stretching, reaching, pulling at him. The last thing he felt was a hand ice cold, bone-thin, grabbing his wrist and yanking him forward. His phone clattered to the ground, its light flickering across the empty locker room. When the lights came back on, the room was silent. Benches overturned, clothes scattered, lockers dented. But the team was gone, every single one of them. The only sound left was the faint dripping of water in the showers, echoing through the empty room. Ryan's throat felt like it had closed up as the last of his teammates disappeared into the misty black void where the lockers used to be. Their shouts echoed once, then cut off like someone had slammed a door on sound itself. He stumbled back, heart racing, but the locker room was silent now, so silent that even his own breathing felt too loud. The rows of lockers were gone, the walls too. In their place stretched an endless hallway of concrete, wet with dripping water, dimly lit by a single buzzing light that swayed from invisible wires. The smell of rust and damp earth filled his lungs. He muttered, This can't be real," but it was. His shoes squeaked on the wet floor as he forced himself forward. His instinct screamed at him to turn back. But there was no door anymore, just that hallway yawning endlessly ahead. A whisper curled down the corridor. "You're late." Ryan froze. It wasn't any voice he recognized. It was layered, like a dozen mouths speaking at once. He called out shakily, "Who's there? Where's my team?" His voice bounced back unnaturally, distorted, as if the walls themselves were mocking him. Suddenly, lockers reappeared along the sides of the hall. Rusted, dented, their doors creaked open one by one. Inside each was not gear, but pale hands clawing to get out. Ryan stumbled backward, the air growing colder. He realized with horror that those hands were his team's rings, the same championship bands they never took off. He whispered, No, that's not them, that's not them." The buzzing light overhead flickered and died, plunging him into near darkness. The only glow came from red exit signs far ahead, though no matter how much he ran, they never seemed closer. His legs ached, lungs burned, but the hallway just stretched and stretched. Then the whispers grew louder, chanting his name, Ryan, Ryan, Ryan. Each syllable carried with it the smell of sweat, blood, and decay. He covered his ears, screamed, but it didn't stop. He turned a corner only to find himself back in the locker room. But this time, it wasn't his school's locker room. It looked older, like from decades ago. Mold crept up the walls, broken tiles crunched under his feet, and water dripped from the ceiling. On the benches lay football helmets cracked open, each filled with black sludge. A single locker door creaked open behind him. His stomach twisted as he saw his own reflection standing inside, staring at him from the darkness of the locker. Same face, same uniform, but its eyes were hollow, black pits. The reflection whispered, "We've been waiting for you," and reached out. Ryan bolted, slamming the locker shut. He sprinted for the exit door he finally saw at the end of the row. His fingers gripped the cold metal bar, and he shoved it open only to stumble not outside, but onto a football field under heavy rain. The bleachers were empty, yet the sound of a roaring crowd filled the night. He looked up and saw dark silhouettes cheering without faces. The scoreboard lit up. 11:47, the same time over and over, frozen. And then he saw them, his teammates. They were standing on the field, but their bodies were wrong. Their helmets twisted, jaws distended, eyes pitch black. They moved in jerky, unnatural motions, surrounding him like predators circling prey. "Guys, it's me," Ryan pleaded, tears mixing with rain. "Snap out of it, please." But they didn't. The team captain, his best friend, Jake, stepped forward, his head twitching, bones cracking as he moved. In a voice that was not his own, he growled, "You're one of us now." The ground beneath Ryan's feet softened like wet clay, dragging him down. He thrashed, screamed, clawed, but the mud swallowed him inch by inch. His teammates just watched, grinning with mouths that stretched to wide. The faceless crowd cheered louder, shaking the empty bleachers. "Help me!" Ryan cried out, his hands the last thing visible as the earth consumed him. For a moment, everything went black. When Ryan's eyes opened, he was back in the locker room, sitting on the bench. The walls looked normal, the lockers shiny and clean, the smell of sweat and detergent filling the air. His heart pounded. Maybe it had been a dream. He looked down and saw his uniform, clean and dry. The sounds of laughter and voices drifted in. His teammates were back, chatting, laughing like nothing happened. Relief washed over him. He stood, ready to join them. But when he turned toward the sound, the room was empty. His chest tightened. Slowly, he walked toward the door, pressed his hand to it, then noticed something carved into the wood. Deep scratches spelled his name over and over, covering every inch of the door. "Ryan." The whispers returned, louder this time, filling every corner of the room. His reflection in the metal lockers twisted, its grin spreading ear to ear. And then, without warning, the lights went out. The next morning, when the school janitor unlocked the building, the locker room was exactly as it should be. No mud, no strange hallways, no broken tiles. Just rows of clean lockers. But one thing was different. Ryan's jersey hung on a hook, damp with rainwater, his championship ring sitting neatly inside a locker. No one ever saw Ryan again. And late at night, athletes still claimed to hear the whispers in that room, voices chanting a single name: "Ryan, Ryan, Ryan."